Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at two battles in one, really. They both took place pretty much at the same time in the same place. So what we're looking at is the Battle of Nook, Tavak, which is down here, and then which is followed by the Battle of Kham Duc, which is here, which is quite famous. And I've seen a film with it in, but the film or documentary, I'm pretty sure, gave the impression that they held out. Maybe it's a different airfield. But what happens here is they eventually do air evacuations for all the units. I always have a problem with these sorts of very tight orders of battle because they're quite specific and they're quite difficult to replicate, especially on a scale like this. I mean, in all honesty, this sort of game would probably be better off done, say, with a much lower level tactical system, maybe on a tabletop, or where you've got squads of men and you know, all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's very sort of like, one hex for Nook Tavak is, it's not big enough. And there's a few other little things that are going to make this quite difficult to sort of play properly. And I find that with a lot of these Vietnam games, mainly because, as I said, the orders of battles are so clear and tight, and the sequence of play so specific that it's quite hard to actually model it. And the only other thing is that I don't have, I've said I don't have air evacuation, which clear, but also air mobile units. These units, so basically this attack happens slightly before this one. They attack this, and then these units sort of flee, and they get sort of to a halfway point. I first thought it was there, and it's just halfway, so I put it there. They basically chop down all the jungle, so I've sort of done that to make it a little clearer. And then from there, they get air evacuated to Kham Duc. So essentially, you've got to. But the thing is, you'll probably end up fighting your way there. And the problem I think we've got is it's going to take so long to actually do it. Essentially, it's got some civilians in there, some special forces, the A105. The Marine Company I've put down here. This is the an Australian mobile strike force. I think they get reinforced a little later. We'll see. This is basically the 1st Battalion of the 46 Infantry Regiments, and so there's 3 of those companies, which is convenient, so we can get to fill all these things with trenches, all these fortified units. And then there's reinforcements. So this is the first. It's the thing. It's basically the next reinforcements is the 1st Infantry Regiment of the 2nd Battalion. Now the thing is, it says regiment, but it's not a full regiment, because the Wikipedia says there are about in total 900 people, or 900 US units, and so that's not even. This is, it's tight. I usually say 200 per company, so that would be 600, and then these are small units, so that would be 600. But when the reinforcements come in, it would be 1200, which is well over the 900 it states. But I think if you assume they're small, I've made them quite meaty, just to sort of maybe give a little more of a game out of it. And the Vietnam, or North Vietnam Viet Cong player has about the equivalent, similar ratios of 2,500. So we'll start it, and the North Vietnam player goes first, which is interesting. Okay, so it starts off with this unit here, which these are Montagnard units. Now they have a historic precedence. I read it, I can't remember, but basically they walk up to this place here, which is get them to look at these names because I don't remember them. I'm not really looking at them in the right place. Let me look at it here. So basically, Nook, Tavak, and they basically get let in. Let me have a look at the Wikipedia at the beginning of this. Okay, shortly after 3 a.m., the suspect Montagnard CIDG soldiers approached the garrison from the eastern entrance, where they asked the US Marine guarding the outer perimeter to let them through. As the Montagnards entered the perimeter, satchel charges were hurled at the Allied positions, while VC soldiers lit up the perimeter with flamethrowers, marking the first double cross of the battle. So basically, I mean, again, as I said, it'd be probably better off done as a sort of tabletop game with miniatures or a lower level tactical system, you know, so that you can throw some satchel charges and use flamethrowers. But you know, it's quite a high level system, so it's slightly different. So essentially, I'm not going to do a one-to-one assault on that. So we're assuming that they've just sort of done their satchel charge thing, because the guard or the marine element was in this hex, you know, or that battle has just taken place sort of there. So moving these guys forward, yeah, this is sort of what I thought really. Going through a jungle is going to be really difficult. So that's the first turn. They can't really even do an attack. So we'll end that turn. Now they're just going to sit there, but these people are not going to do anything. Well, they're not going to attack out there. There's only 2 of them, so they'll be at less than 1 to 2 anyway. You know, they're probably tripled in or doubled in. So it might be 1-to-1. I don't know how much jungle is actually. Let me maybe just make an effort to have a look. Jungle defense is 1.5. So essentially not that bad. They would be at 1.5 and these would be attacking at 2, so it would be 1-to-1. I don't think they want to risk that, and I can't bother to do it. So now it's the North Vietnamese again. Now they can do this. Well, that gives them. I mean, these people are in. They're in a fort. They're in hills. So they're doubled. So that's 2 doubled to 4, and tripled in the 4 is 12. So they've got 4, 8, 12, 13 plus a 10%, so 14.3. So they'll be at 1-to-1 as well. But what I'm doing is I'm going to sort of replicate this with an attrition roll. 1.4 damage. So that was pretty good. Now what I could also do is put these units around the other side and then do a siege situation. So again, it's one of these battles and games where we're sort of more interested, more focused on replicating the actual history of what happened, as opposed to sort of making a battle out of it. I mean, for example, I could have chosen the map around this, but you know, again, it's all too bitty. I mean, most of the Vietnam battles were sort of fairly small. I mean, this is quite significant and large, you know, but you know, there's not a lot of units involved either way. So that was that turn. But I mean, basically they've succeeded in that. The one thing I maybe forgot to do, I didn't want to attack him, but you can certainly try attritioning back. But I don't think it's really going to work. No. Okay. So that's their turn. Well, they're slowly, bit by bit, going to edge around here, but they can still. Yeah, they took up all their turn though. Do an attrition roll. Okay, puts them both up to 2, which is odd. Okay. So that ends their turn. The United States are going to try. Actually, they're just going to sit there because they want to recover. I think. Yeah. So they're going to end their turn, which should put them down to 1 depression. Yep. So the North Vietnamese are now in a position to carry out a siege. And there's the siege option. So they've gone up from 1 to 2.1. So presumably they've got 1.1. Doesn't really say. It's not very helpful that, because there's no combat. So they're now using siege warfare against that, which I think is convenient. And I like the way that it's progressing over a significantly longer period of time to reflect the sort of intricacies. This is what I like about a lot of things in life. That's maybe not the way to say it. But what I'm talking about is the holistic perspectives of things. In action films, they quite often fool you with a lot of very quick shots of punches and kicks and things that give it an extra sort of dynamic flair. Well, I would rather watch a fight scene from about 200 yards away, and it becomes a lot less dramatic. And there's a very good film where they sort of do that from a rooftop, and I can't remember what it is. I keep trying to remember it because it's perfect. And this is, instead of sort of all the close-up action, you just seeing these very small sort of roles to reflect something that could be a sort of movie in its own right, sort of all whittled down. I mean, any film, if you take the protagonist or the heroes and then you sort of like zoom out 3 or 4 miles, you see that the world is full of other people and they are just one people. They're always saving the world, but really they're just too small to save the world. Anyway, that's all relevant. So that's their turn. So the US, now they get this AC-47. Now, I'm not going to be able to go through the whole game here. The AC-47 comes in as support to attack these units. So let's see what they can do here. 2 damage. Well, that was good. But that's they're going to try their attrition roll. Well, they're not actually, because they want to recover. So that's the thing about. I really want to sort of get this sort of attrition and siege process tightened up, because it really does, I think, have a tendency to what I would maybe call work. I'm not saying it's realistic, but it's slow, and you start. It's like when I drive along the motorway, I'll go at maybe 61 miles an hour or something, and the car will be going at 62, and I'm racing it. Instead of going to 80 or something, these things take micro actions to take. You can do this sort of dramatic overtake that takes like 5 minutes as you slowly progress, just half a mile faster, and it's the same here. It's sort of just trying to whittle through fairly small numbers to see what happens, but that was a fairly big effect. So this battle is sort of continuing to rage on, but it should be coming to an end soon, and this video certainly will. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this siege, but I'm not going to include this unit because he's depressed, but because I've got the surround, I should still get that siege in there, which has pushed them up to 2.1, 1.8, and when I end the turn, there we go. There come all the units. Now the battle for Kham Duc begins, but I've only got 15 minutes left. These are airborne, they come into here. But I might do another video because it's a historic one, so I'll speak to you later. Okay, so I'm going to see if we can get another 15 minutes in just to get the basics of what happens over here in there. So essentially we've got these, this is the 12th Mobile Strike Force, which is Australian. So they airdropped in. There's a lot of detail about this battle. So it's saying, do you want an airdrop? We've got obviously some units that might attack. And I'm pretty sure they do get sort of mauled coming in. But we're going to commit this air insertion. And they got in fine. No results. So that was okay. Now we've got this AC-47 again. It's attacking these units. That one's on depression 1 and depression 0, so he has recovered, but we're going to come in again. .7, .4, so that will blunt their assault, but we're not really that bothered about that because we're just doing the sort of reenactment, so to speak. So they're all sort of just sitting there. Okay, so these two units are now going to recover because it's 1.4. I really don't want to start affording them having any losses, but they're going to do. They can't do a siege because they can't commit either of these because they're both recovering. So they'll just do plain old attrition, which was unsuccessful. However, we've got some artillery. Well, they're actually mortars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move them into position. Sorry, shut the window, curtains, doing a Superman out the window, and I'm sure I shouldn't be doing that, flying around in the wind. So it's North Vietnamese. I wonder if I haven't set up a movement for so that's in a jungle hill. Artillery can't move through hills. So he's sort of stuck there. Brilliant. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get these two hexes. Well, we just have to do it. .25 damage. So these are the mortars slowly coming in. Let's see where the brain box is configured. No, at least the units can move. That's probably about all they can do. Yep. Look at that, they can 1, 2, 3, 4, they can hit everything from there, so let's do it. This is the gamer and me just pulverising the same unit. I get the feeling that I might be able to win this quite quickly. No effect. So he's actually been hit a little, 1.75. Okay, so let's spread these units out now. Okay, so we're going to advance this way and this way. It's taken sort of a good bit of time, which is sort of what I wanted, so to sort of reflect how it works, because they were sort of passing on from over here or something, and then we've got these other units coming in. Well, they didn't move, so they recovered, but we're going to hit them again. See, the air power is having an effect here. Although it's not destroying the unit, it's causing them to stop doing anything so that they can reorganise. 0.8, 0.9. So that what I'm it's not so much desperately, but what I'm trying to do is keep them above, keep them below 2, because they can recover back down to 0. Once they go over 2, they've always got a permanent depression. And so I'm trying to play it with that, and I think it works quite good, quite well, because although that air power is not going to really hurt these units if they stop doing anything, it means they're not doing anything, so they're not attacking these units, and that's, you know, a strategic effect, or a tactical effect in its own right. So anyway, that's that. We've got nothing there to do anything with. So 0.75. Okay, this could go badly for them quite quickly. 2.8. Oh, 7.45. I'm not going to attack them again because I think they should really sort of reflect this as more of a simulation. They should be going evenly across the whole thing, because that will rout next. So I'm going to leave that alone. I mean, it's basically as good as gone, and it's sort of a bit of a cheat in the play. So, but anyway, moving the units forward. So they're not going to do anything because they're being pinned by air power. So we're going to just do an attrition, which was unsuccessful. Now they're all back. He's at 0.1, 0.1. So that was probably their maximum depression levels. Presumably they went up to 2.1. So that's that. We've moved all these units. So it's now the next turn. So they've recovered again, but we're going to get attacked again. So again, here's the aircraft preventing those attacks going through, allowing the units in the base to recover. 1.3. Historically, there's a lot that went down here. You know, they end up sort of, they've got these secret bunkers, and the sort of Vietcong didn't know about, and they when they leave, they spike a lot of things. You know, there's all sorts of air helicopters trying to come in and land and getting shot and left on the runway. You know, again, it really is sort of, there's a huge amount going on in there that's not being reflected with just a huge hex. What we're sort of reading into, really. Okay, whose turn is it? Well, that's it. Oh, well, hang on, what's in there? Yeah, so we've got some artillery. That artillery down here came in, and to be quite honest, I might have just missed that. I mean, it came in turn 7. Oh, that's right, so it's turn 7 now, so I've just got it. So basically, we've now got some artillery. So we can start firing back with no effect. Okay. The next sort of big thing is on turn 14 when we get the reinforcements. So we're not going to go for that one now, because we're just going to sort of assume that we're going to split things up. Okay. I'm not sure they're going to be able to hold out till turn 14. Okay. I think before we do any attacks, we're going to spread out a bit. Well, after this, in fact on this turn, and I really shouldn't, I haven't actually thought of the correct sort of time and place to do this, but we're going to run away. Basically leaving the camp. They get to this evacuation point, so now these units basically are going to go in and take that. I'm not going to follow these units. Huh, 1.9 on that, that's good. Okay. Now when they move into that, they all get a 0 movement, so they can't attack. Although we've got some artillery onto that, possibly. 2.6. Oh, he still hasn't routed. He's on the edge of it. Unfortunately, there's nothing else that happens until turn 14, and that's way off. I'm going to make some adjustments to this, basically give them some air power. I'm sure they would have had some air support for this section here. And I think I'm going to remove this artillery and one of these artillery, so I've only got 2. But other than that, I think I might remove 1 unit. I mean, it's pretty tight, but I think they're not really going to survive. So they're going to do an attrition roll against that unit there. 0.2. And let's see whether we can do something else with the artillery. I should have gone for this artillery actually with that. Okay, and next turn. Right. So they've moved in. I'm just going to do both at the same time. There's no point doing them at the same time, but I'm a bit of a rush because I've only got a minute left. So we're doing this first attack on this hex. Is it going to be worth it? Probably not. They're going to be worth 12. So we're going to do an attrition. This could actually work. 0.4. Okay, I'm going to do an attrition here. Etc, etc. So I think that could actually work as a sort of an attrition race. Similarly down here, these units will suddenly try to get back up there. They should really move faster, but also I can't really put a road in and make them move faster through jungle. But that's pretty much the Battle of Kham Duc. Its sequence of play, the 2 separate areas, and a general overview. I'm not going to do another video. Put these ones together and speak to you later. Cheers, bye.